Right, we're back. It's Mark here from Talk Beliefs and Neil from Reason Now. And Neil, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, the weather is good and feeling good, and we have a lot to talk about. Some good and some not so good. But before we get into that, I just want to thank everyone for supporting the JW protest video, which I uploaded this week on Sunday. It's been received very, very well. Lots of great comments, and it seems to be helping people, which is great. And I just want to say thank you very much to all the people who allowed themselves to be interviewed, people who've been hurt by the Watchtower, by jw.org. And also, I do want to say a shout out to the Jehovah's Witnesses who kind of spoke to me. Most of them ran away. But I did have one young man who did give me an interview, and I think he was very brave for doing that.
And it's fantastic that they're exposing the paedophile cover-up in the JWs. It's amazing work they're doing, these people.
Absolutely. And a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses who came out of the convention and saw these big banners, they seemed genuinely not to know that this was going on. But hopefully now that they've seen that,
and if you see it,
investigating.
And what I've started doing, I've only done it a couple of times so far, but I'm going to continue it, is I'm just going to approach the JWs when they're in the street or when they knock on the door and just ask them if they've got kids and have they heard about the paedophile scandal, very politely, and just say, if you've got kids, you might want to be careful. Just sort of sow the seed.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what somebody said at the protest, and I thought, oh wow, that is marvelous. That is doing really well. I will be uploading an extended, well, slightly extended version of that in the future. And also part 2 is coming up, which is the remainder of the interviews I did with the protesters. And also I'm going to be talking with Louise Good, who's the amazing organizer of the whole thing. I did an interview with her just before, saying what do we expect, and now I'm going to do like a sort of a debrief one. And what did you think? How do you think it went? Because it was her first ever organizing of, well, anything really, and she was brilliant at it, and it was probably the biggest and most successful JW protest ever.
And they're getting together now, and they're starting to organise behind the scenes, and they're going to get even bigger.
Yeah, oh, God knows what it's going to be like next year.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and you've been very, very busy yourself. I mean, my video's going very well, but your Brexit videos are going viral, for goodness sake. I mean, what's been happening?
One or two have a little bit. Yeah, I've been very happy with them. I've just been doing a daily commentary on my Facebook page, Reason Now, about Brexit and different issues behind Brexit, and people seem to like them, which is fantastic. The biggest one so far is one about Brexit and the NHS and why it's no friend of the NHS. So if you want to find out more about them, head over to my Facebook page, Reason Now, and check out the videos.
And this is basically you just talking to the camera. You're doing like a live stream,
yes,
and sort of a stream of consciousness as well.
It is a stream of consciousness, because I didn't want to do any editing. I didn't want people to sort of like think I was trying to cut in.
And people have
facts
obviously responded well to that, because you had like a zillion impressions on it.
Yeah, and it is a constant stream, walking down the street, live Facebook videos, and yeah, I just thought I'd do a couple and see what people thought, and they seem popular, so I'm going to carry them on. Yeah,
and it seems like every time you post one, it seems to go viral again. So you're going to do this every weekday, is that right?
I'm going to try to do one every weekday, yeah. Yeah,
okay. And do you think that people are starting to sort of change their mind about this? Those who thought that, yes, we should leave the European Union, are they now starting to think, maybe we shouldn't have done this?
You get the die-hard leavers who are just not going to change their mind no matter what, but there's a lot of people who've just been not paying attention to the debate at all and just carrying on their lives. And as the facts are coming out of the harm that's going to cause the nation if we get the no-deal Brexit that the Leave Means Leave campaign are pushing for, certainly more people are definitely turning towards Remain.
And do you think people who are not even involved, or who don't even live in England or Europe, can take something away from this? Because this could happen anywhere, couldn't it?
Yeah, and they are taking it away. I mean, in Europe, the European Union is probably the most popular it's ever been because of Brexit, and they're seeing the damage it's doing to the UK, and they're like, oh, so the countries that were flirting with the idea of Brexit are now actually starting to see it as a more positive organisation.
Excellent. And an organization which is not very positive at all at the moment is the Catholic Church, Neil. And you know where we're going with this. We couldn't ignore it. It's really big at the moment. This comes from USA Today. Men of God hid it all. The church protected more than 300 predator priests in Pennsylvania, said the grand jury. Now this is just astounding. I mean, we're not too surprised on one hand. On the other hand, it's like, okay, yeah, some more of this has come out. Church leaders protected more than 300 predator priests in 6 Roman Catholic dioceses across Pennsylvania for decades because they were more interested in safeguarding the church and the abusers than tending to their victims, says a scathing grand jury report released Tuesday. More than 1,000 young victims were identifiable from the church's own records, the report says. And there's a quote here from the report. It says, "The main thing was not to help children, but to avoid scandal. Priests were raping little boys and girls, and the men of God who were responsible for them not only did nothing, they hid it all." And one last thing I'll read about this, then we'll have a chat about it. The Pennsylvania report accuses church leaders in the state of discouraging victims from reporting the abuse, which allegedly spanned more than 60 years. So even though it does span 60 years, still, it's a high number.
So this takes me back to the Boston incident that the Spotlight film exposed, where 87 priests in the Boston area were shown to be paedophiles by the Boston Globe. That film is definitely available still, either on Amazon Prime or Netflix, one of the two. You've seen it a few times.
Yes, it's a great film. I've seen it many times. Of course, it has the great Michael Keaton in the role of the editor of the Spotlight section of the newspaper. It's not been the first time he's played a newspaper editor. He's very, very good at it.
But Batman came to the rescue.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, they went looking for some proof that there was a couple of predator priests which were being shifted around by the church, and in the end, yeah, nearly 90, and they were shocked by that. But this blows that out of the water. Yeah,
and there was loads of stuff on social media about why hasn't the Pope said anything about it. It took ages for the Pope to say anything about this.
About this new one.
Yeah, he just kept quiet for ages, but he has now.
He has now, a week later, and he said something about there has to be zero tolerance, and he said everything he should say. But what the victims are saying, it's too little too late. And is it he's just going to keep saying this on and on forever?
Yeah, it is too little too late, but we've got the Australian Commission going on right now where they're trying to put priests away in Australia who were fucking kids. And but the thing is, he's saying we showed no care for the little ones. Okay, great that he made this statement. Great that he says he's making promises for zero tolerance in a letter to Catholics.
It took them a week with their spin guys saying, how are we going to say this and what words are we going to use?
And it is good that he sent a letter out to every church to be read out in the service that they're going to take no tolerance on this, whatever. And I hope he's true. So if he's true to his word, I expect to see every one of those priests in Pennsylvania in jail. I expect to see everyone who covered it up in jail. Let's see if he's true to his word, because he hasn't been in the past. In the past, they said they're going to crack down on it. How many stories have you read about people covering up for priests going to jail? I haven't read a single one. No wonder people are turning away from the Catholic Church in blooming droves.
And what they cite here is this term clericalism, which is basically, if you're part of the church, you're kind of untouchable.
Yeah. I mean, as I said with the JWs about having a word, are you okay sending your kids to an organisation that it so easily covers up paedophilia, has done it for decades?
They almost look at it like, oh no, that's something that happens on the news, not in reality.
Yeah. But it is real, and it's not an isolated case. It's been shown in many countries that they do this. So wow, there's going to be a lot more comes out of this, I'm sure. But let's see if the
and that is just the thing is, people are looking at it and they're going, oh, this is just Pennsylvania. Okay, we've had Boston, we've had Pennsylvania. Are they going to go through all the states, and is the number going to rise?
They should go through all the states, because I bet you they'll find a scandal in every single city.
Yeah,
I bet you in every single city in the world where there's a Catholic Church, this has happened.
And
I'd lay money on that.
What do you want to bet that the one that has the highest amount will be like the most religious?
Yeah, because
state, perhaps Texas or something like that.
Well,
or Alabama.
I know from discussions before that
just speculating.
People in some of the most religious countries in the world sort of aware what's happening to their kids, but still sending their kids to schools and the Catholic schools and to church. In Ireland, there were many sort of like in-jokes about what the priests were doing. Yeah.
And where is the Pope going this weekend? Ireland. Now, how are they going to receive him there? Because Ireland, as you know, I've got family over there. I go over there all the time. And I've noticed it over the last 20 or so years, it was a very Catholic country. The priest walks in the room, everyone stands bolt upright. And now, everyone's kind of just thrown it away.
They seem to be the country that has rebelled the most against the Catholic Church, and bloody good on them, because there's been so many scandals in Ireland.
Yeah, the internet generation, definitely, they're the ones who have seen through this.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see if you get any demonstrations from the younger generation.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to that for something which is still quite serious, perhaps not quite as devastating as pedophilia, but for Glenn Close, this was devastating. In fact, that's what she says in the headline from the Metro co-UK. It was devastating to a child. Now, what she's speaking about is the cult that she lived in with her parents for 15 years. Now, I didn't know about this.
No, this is brand new news to me.
Now, this is Glenn Close. Now, she's opened up about spending 15 years in a cult with her family. Now, the legendary actress has had a glittering Hollywood career so far, starring in films including Fatal Attraction, Dangerous Liaisons, and even Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't remember being in Guardians of the Galaxy, but she must have been. But when she was 7 years old, she ended up as part of the controversial spiritual movement Moral Rearmament, or MRA, after her parents, William and Bettine, entered the cult-like group. So MRA, this was founded by a Reverend Frank Bookman, an evangelical fundamentalist from Pennsylvania. Oh, Pennsylvania again. This back in 1938. And it revolved around the idea of changing the world, which begins with the individual. Now, Glenn Close, who's now 71, and her sibling were sent there to live in the group's headquarters in Switzerland. So I looked that up, this MRA, and according to it does have Christian roots, like I said. It is based on something called the four absolutes: absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute unselfishness, and absolute love. And it encourages its members to be actively involved in political and social issues. Yeah, this sounds good, but she didn't think it was all that rosy, did she?
No, and it's interesting. I mean, I hadn't heard of this one before, MRA. It's a religious group, but if you read back that, it sounds pretty much like a lot of the cults, non-religious spiritual cults that are popping up right now, revolved around the idea of changing the world begins with the change in the individual. That's a familiar line that I'm seeing all over the internet.
Yeah, these transformative cults,
Yeah, those four absolutes: honesty, absolute purity, absolute unselfishness, absolute love. Sounds brilliant, fantastic.
On the surface.
But again, very much the sort of thing that cults are doing today. So I found that very interesting.
Expect a kind of a perfection, and when you can't reach that perfection, they come down and you're like a ton of bricks and make your life miserable. And I think that's basically what she was saying. She said it was a cult-like group where everybody is supposed to say the same things and act the same way. And my parents were in it from when I was 7 to when I was 22. It was devastating to a child because it meant that at a time when you're trying to figure out who you are, you're being told instead who you're supposed to be. And this is this absolutist sort of thinking. You basically weren't allowed to do anything, or you were made to feel guilty about any unnatural desire. Again, in cults, that sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
It's usually something to do with, burgeoning sexual desires. That's probably was suppressed. I wouldn't be surprised in this cult as well. She added, it was very difficult because by the time I was able to break away from it, I didn't trust my instincts because I thought they had all been dictated to me instead of being my own.
Oh, this sounds so familiar, not because I was in a cult, but just what religion did to me. I mean, I think some people in religion, and I was certainly one of them, you come out and you're an adult, but you don't know who to trust. You don't know how to think for yourself very well.
Yeah.
You can't really use critical thinking to gauge what's going on in the world. So it sounds like the same sort of mental abuse that I felt when I came out of religion.
And certainly they ratcheted up for cults such as the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Exclusive Brethren, people like that. It's very interesting what she says. She didn't trust her instincts because I thought they had all been dictated to me, And that can be very suffocating if somebody says, no, you have to think this way, you have to believe this way, you have to strive to this all the time. Well, at least she got out and she has a wonderful career.
And it's great that she's making people aware that these groups exist.
Now making people aware, yeah. I wonder if she's going to speak out more about this. That would be interesting if she perhaps ended up on one of these programs. Perhaps she'll speak to Leah Remini or
that would be great.
Cults and Extreme Belief Season 2, which I think they are doing.
That would be great.
That would be really interesting.
Because there is a big movement now about calling out these cults.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic news.
Yeah. So we're going to have to end up something a little bit more light. This comes from WeGotItCovered.com. DC Comics confirms that Batman is an atheist. But you and I knew that, didn't we?
He is an atheist, yes.
He's never sort of like crouching on a gargoyle going, oh, please God, help me to catch this baddie. Please God. No, you never see that.
Yeah, so in the latest...
how did this happen?
in the latest comic, basically he'd come out that he's an atheist when he was in a jury and explaining to all the other jurors who were wearing their crosses and that. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. The funny thing is, he's only an atheist.
Does he actually say atheist in the comic?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he said how he basically used to live with his Christian upbringing, but now he's rejected it. So basically, he's rejected the Abrahamic gods. Because I'm pretty sure he's not an atheist about some of the other people he's been fighting, who are actual gods.
That's true. Yeah. So his parents, who were murdered in that sort of famous scene, they were believers,
and that murder caused him to question why God would let that happen.
Why didn't God protect them?
To someone who's so good, sort of thing. Exactly.
Oh, they must be believing in the wrong God. So.
Yeah, indeed. And it's the sort of thing that actually starts a lot of people thinking, how could God let that happen? Sort of thing. So that's good. But yeah, it's funny. It's caused a lot of discussion on the internet. And don't forget, he himself was a Batman. He saw himself as a god.
I guess, yeah.
And when people talk to me about God, I very much see that. I see myself as my own God. I'm in charge of my own destiny, to a certain degrray.
Absolutely.
So I'm my own God.
It's interesting to note, though, that his creator was, I don't think his creator, Bob Kane, was an atheist. It's because like many of the popular superheroes today, their creators were writers and artists of Jewish immigrant descent. I'm thinking of not only Batman, but Captain America and Superman as well.
Yeah.
But, they can't really put their beliefs, if any, into their comics. They have to keep it neutral, so perhaps they are perceived as being atheist.
That's one of the reasons why this is such a bold move, that it's actually come out in the magazine, in the comic, because they do normally try to play these things neutral, don't they? Because they don't want to distance any of their audience.
Yeah, because if they say, Spider-Man is a devout Catholic, then that might piss off some Protestants who may cancel their subscriptions. I don't know. So it's all that sort of marketing, really. Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting. It's caused a stir on the internet, and
of course,
I love that.
So a lot of Christian families are going to be stopping their kids from reading Batman now if they hadn't already. I mean, after all, he's dressed up like a demon.
Yes.
So that would have been my family's excuse for stopping me from reading Batman. But
and the fact that there were other gods in the book. What I love about this, I just find it funny that he's fought so many gods and he's an atheist. It can only be that he's atheist about the Abrahamic gods.
Yeah.
It can only be that. The story looks like, I don't know, I don't really follow the comics that much, but I looked into it a little bit. The story also follows that apparently it's going to be that he's lost faith in himself. Which has been done many times before. Yeah. But what hasn't in the comics?
Well, yeah, they have to keep him broody. Isn't that what they say?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because if he's broody, he's angry. And if he's angry, he goes out and he knocks heads together.
And if he was happily married, he wouldn't be Batman.
Yeah, he'd be too busy doing other things. Yeah. Especially if it was Catwoman. But that didn't come off.
But we'll see him in the next episode of Justice League, no doubt, working with gods.
Yeah, that's the point. He's an atheist even though he works with gods and occasionally fights gods. So that is quite an atheist.
Yeah.
You actually have the evidence of gods and you still don't believe in them.
Yeah. Maybe they'll do it in the film where he specifically tries to put his hand on the Bible in a courtroom and is just like, I'm not that.
Well,
I'm an atheist. Well, let's face it. Christians are atheistic about every other god.
Yeah.
And apart from their own, they're atheistic about all the other versions of Christianity.
They are.
Than their own.
The First Baptist Church doesn't believe in the funny teachings of the Second Baptist Church across the road.
Yeah.
So certainly not of groups like Scientology.
As many people like to say, you're as atheistic as me, apart from one God.
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up for today. And next week we're going to introduce a new little slot where we're going to read out some of the various interesting comments that I get on the YouTube channel.
The trolls, the abuse, the funny stuff.
The hate, the downright what the hell are they typing. We're going to read a couple of those out, I think, at each episode of this show, and just to share with the world what we have to put up with. But until then, we're going to go out and enjoy the world, and hopefully I will see you here bright and early next week.